My ON daughter fired me from the family business, claiming I was too old and embarrassing, but she didn't know her biggest client was me. My ON daughter fired me from... I always thought my daughter would be the one to carry my legacy forward, not the one to destroy it. But there I stood in the middle of my own birthday party watching Avery tap her champagne glass with a silver spoon, preparing to make what I assumed would be a touching speech about her mother. I'm Mila, and I built Hernandez Fashion from nothing but determination and a second-hand sewing machine, 25 years of sleepless nights, missed vacations, and countless sacrifices, all to create something meaningful for my daughter. Mom, Avery's voice rang clear across the rooftop venue. You've given so much to this company. She paused, her perfectly manicured hand gripping the glass tighter. Maybe too much. The first warning bell went off in my head. Something in her tone wasn't right. The board and I have been discussing the future of Hernandez Fashion, she continued. Her blue eyes, so like mine, avoiding my gaze. We believe it's time for a change in leadership. The champagne in my hand suddenly felt too heavy. Around me, faces I'd known for years started shifting uncomfortably in their seats. What are you saying, Avery? I managed to keep my voice steady, though my heart was racing. I'm saying it's time for you to step down, Mom. Effective immediately. The silence that followed was deafening. Someone gasped. I heard Nora, my oldest friend in the company, mutter Jesus Christ under her breath. You're firing me? I asked, still unable to process what was happening. At my birthday party, Avery's face hardened. We needed to do this publicly to ensure a clean break. The board agrees that your traditional approaches are holding us back. We need to modernize, digitalize, move forward. Forward? I set my glass down before my shaking hands could betray me. I just secured the Martinez account last week. Our numbers are up 30% from last year. Through outdated methods, Avery countered, personal meetings, handshake deals. It's not sustainable in today's market. Justin, Avery's business partner, stood up. Mila, we've prepared a generous severance package. Spare me the details, Justin. I cut him off, my voice ice cold. 25 years of business negotiations had taught me how to hide my emotions. I assume my office needs to be cleared by tomorrow. Security will pack your things, Avery said. It's better this way. Better. My own daughter couldn't even trust me to clean out my desk with dignity. I stood up slowly, smoothing my black dress, the one Avery had given me last Christmas. Well then, I suppose I should thank you all for coming to my birthday party and my retirement party, apparently. Nora started to stand, but I waved her off. This wasn't the time for sympathy. I needed to leave with whatever fragments of pride I had left. As I walked toward the elevator, Avery called out, Mom, wait. I turned, meeting her eyes one last time. You know, Avery, I taught you everything I know about business. Everything except one thing. Karma's a patient teacher, and she always collects her dues. The elevator doors closed on her startled face, and I finally allowed myself to shake. 30 floors to pull myself together. 30 floors to decide what comes next. In the lobby, I passed the wall of magazine covers featuring our success story. Mother and daughter, the unstoppable duo of Hernandez Fashion. What a joke. Outside, the New York evening was humid and alive with possibility. My phone buzzed, probably Nora checking on me, but I ignored it. Instead, I opened my banking app and checked my personal accounts. The money I'd been saving for Avery's eventual wedding looked back at me, mocking my maternal sentimentality. A notification popped up on my screen. Rising stars in fashion, independent designers struggle in corporate shadow. The article featured two young designers, Bridget and Annalise, talking about their challenges breaking into the industry. My hand stopped shaking as an idea took root. If Avery wanted to play corporate shark, fine, but she'd forgotten who taught her how to swim in these waters. I flagged down a taxi, my mind already racing with possibilities. Where to? The driver asked. I thought about the article, about karma, about revenge served not cold, but perfectly tailored. Law offices of Goldman & Associates, I said. It was time to create a new company under a new name, one that would remind my daughter that some traditional approaches still had teeth. The taxi pulled away from the curb, leaving behind the building where I'd spent half my life. In the rearview mirror, I watched it disappear into the skyline along with the last traces of the mother Avery thought she knew. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destruction, it's about creation, and I was about to create something that would make my daughter's betrayal look like the mistake it was. 3 months after my public humiliation, I sat in the back row of a small design studio watching Bridget and Annalise present their latest collection to potential buyers. Their talent was raw, undeniable, but their presentation needed work. The stitching technique is traditional Vietnamese, Bridget explained, her hands shaking slightly as she held up a blazer. But we've modernized it for how many units can you produce in a month? Interrupted one of the buyers, barely looking up from his phone. Well, Currently, we're limited by our pass, he said, standing up. Call us when you have the infrastructure to handle real orders. I waited until the disappointed buyers filed out before approaching the design table. Bridget was fighting back tears while Annalise angrily stuffed fabric samples into a drawer. Your biggest problem isn't production capacity, I said, making them both jump. It's that you're letting them set the terms of the conversation. I'm sorry. Who are you? Annalise asked, protective arm around her partner's shoulders. Maria Luna, I said, using my new alias, and I'm here to invest in your company. Bridget wiped her eyes. We're not looking for small investors. We need serious. I pulled out my phone and showed them the number I was prepared to offer. Their eyes widened in perfect sync. That's Annalise swallowed hard. That's a lot of zeros. It comes with conditions, I said, running my hand over their displayed designs. I remain anonymous. No board seat, no public involvement, but I want final approval on business strategy. Why anonymous? Bridget asked. Suspicious? I smiled, thinking of Avery. Let's just say I prefer to let the work speak for itself. Do we have a deal? They looked at each other, having one of those silent conversations that close partners perfect over time. Finally, Bridget nodded. Good, I said. Now show me that blazer again. But this time, sell it like you own the room. The next few weeks were a blur of late nights and coffee-fueled strategy sessions. I taught them everything I knew about the industry. Every trick, every shortcut, every handshake deal that Avery had dismissed as outdated. The Martinez account is looking for new suppliers. I mentioned casually one evening, knowing they were Avery's biggest client. Their buyer, Sandra, loves hand-finished details. Martinez? Annalise's eyes went wide. They're way out of our league. Not anymore, I said, pulling out my phone. Sandra's having lunch at La Bernardine tomorrow. Table 12, she always orders the sea bass. How do you know that? Bridget asked. I waved away the question. Take the blazer, wear it when she compliments it, and she will be ready. The next day, I watched from across the restaurant as Sandra practically chased them down for a meeting. 1 week later, they had the contract. I don't understand, Bridget said during our celebration dinner. Everything you've taught us. It's like you've been doing this for decades. I sipped my wine carefully. I'm just good at reading people. Well, whatever it is, it's working. Annalise grinned, showing me her phone. Look at these numbers. And Hernandez fashion stock dropped 3 points after Martinez signed with us. My hand tightened around my glass. Is that so? Yeah. Apparently, their CEO is freaking out. Some trust fund princess who fired her own mother to take over. Can you believe that? Karma's a patient teacher, I murmured. What? Nothing. Tell me about the new collection you're planning. As they excitedly shared their ideas, my phone buzzed with a text from Nora. Avery's losing it. Board meeting was a disaster. She keeps asking about your new venture. How long are you going to keep this up? I typed back. As long as it takes. Looking up, I watched Bridget and Annalise sketch designs on a napkin. Their enthusiasm infectious. They reminded me of myself at their age. Hungry, talented, fearless. Before corporate politics and family betrayal complicated everything. We need a name, Bridget said suddenly, for the new collection. Phoenix, I suggested, thinking of my own rise from the ashes of my birthday party humiliation, because sometimes the most beautiful things emerge from the fire. They loved it, of course. They loved everything I suggested, implementing each strategy with the kind of trust I once hoped to see from my own daughter. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I scrolled through photos of their latest designs. They were good. Better than good. With my guidance, they become exactly what Avery feared, a real threat to Hernandez fashion. My phone buzzed again. Avery's name flashed on the screen the first time she'd tried to contact me since that night. I let it ring until it stopped, then poured myself another glass of wine. Patience, I whispered to myself, watching the city lights flicker outside my window. Karma's just getting started. I didn't mean to be at the same restaurant as Avery. That was genuine coincidence. But when I heard her voice rise above the quiet dinner crowd, I couldn't help but listen from behind my menu. What do you mean they're going with Phoenix? Avery's voice cracked. We've worked with Vogue for 15 years. I peeked around the corner. She was sitting with Justin, her perfectly styled hair now slightly disheveled. A half-empty martini glass sat in front of her. They love the fresh perspective, Justin said, his tone careful. The Vietnamese-inspired collection really spoke to them. Fresh perspective? Avery slammed her hand on the table. We offered them exclusive digital integration, AI-powered sizing, everything they asked for. Sometimes it's not about the technology, Avery. It's about the soul of the designs. I smiled behind my menu. Those were my words spoken through Justin's mouth. He'd always been the more reasonable one. Soul doesn't pay the bills, Avery snapped, then lowered her voice as other diners turned to look. First Martinez, now Vogue. Who's next? Maybe we should consider. If you suggest bringing my mother back, I swear to God, Justin. The board's asking questions. He pressed on. Our stock is down 18%. The holiday collection isn't moving. We need to do something. Avery's laugh was bitter. You think I haven't tried calling her? She won't answer. Won't return my emails. It's like she disappeared. Can you blame her? The silence that followed was heavy. I risked another glance. Avery was staring into her martini, looking more like the little girl who used to fall asleep in my design studio than the CEO who fired me. I did what I had to do, she whispered. Did you? Justin leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, we had a good thing going before you decided to go nuclear on your own mother. We were stagnating. We were stable, profitable, respected. Justin stood up, dropping his napkin on the table. Maybe it's time to admit we made a mistake. After he left, Avery ordered another martini. I watched her pull out her phone, scroll through something, then press it to her ear. Mom, her voice was small now. I know you're getting these messages. Please, I need to talk to you. Everything's falling apart, and I don't know how to. She trailed off, wiping her eyes. Just call me back, please. Something twisted in my chest. The mother in me wanted to go to her, stroke her hair like I used to when she was upset. But the businesswoman in me remembered the humiliation, the betrayal, the cold calculation of that birthday night. My phone buzzed. Bridget was calling. Maria, she said when I answered. We just got the confirmation. Vogue wants us for the September issue. Main feature. Wonderful news, I said, watching Avery order a third martini. How about we celebrate tomorrow? I have some ideas for the photo shoot. You always have the best ideas, Bridget gushed. Oh, and guess what? Nordstrom called. They want to meet next week. I ended the call and finally signaled for my check. As I stood to leave, Avery's voice carried across the restaurant again. This time talking to someone new on her phone. I don't care what it takes, she was saying. Steel back in her voice. Find out who's behind Phoenix. Someone must know something about this Maria Luna person. I froze mid-step. She was investigating. Of course she was. I taught her to always know her competition. No. I want everything, she continued. Bank records, business registrations, social media. There's no way someone comes out of nowhere with that kind of industry knowledge. Time to be more careful. I'd taught Avery too well. She'd keep digging until she found something. And when she did, I walked past her table on my way out, close enough to smell her familiar perfume, the one I'd given her for Christmas 2 years ago. She was too absorbed in her phone call to notice me. Just another middle-aged woman in a city full of them. Outside, the evening air was crisp with autumn's approach. Fashion Week was coming. And with it, Phoenix's biggest moment yet, Bridget and Annalise's collection would be the talk of the industry. And, Avery, I pulled out my phone and listened to her voicemail again. Everything's falling apart. And I don't know how to you know how, I whispered to the night air. You just don't want to admit it. My car arrived, and as I slid into the back seat, I sent a quick text to Nora. Keep an eye on her. She's starting to spiral. The response came quickly. She's not the only one. What's your endgame here, Mila? I stared at the message for a long moment before typing justice. But as the car pulled away from the curb, passing Avery's familiar silhouette in the restaurant window, I wondered if justice and revenge were really the same thing after all. The stitching is wrong, I said, running my fingers along the sample dress. You can feel it right here at the seam. Bridget frowned, leaning closer, but we followed the exact specifications. Specifications aren't everything. I picked up a needle and thread. Watch. The design studio had become my second home over the past few months. As I demonstrated the correct technique, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, focused, alive, teaching again, just like I used to with Avery. There, I said, holding up the corrected scene. Feel the difference? Annalise gasped. It's perfect. How do you know all these little tricks? Before I could answer, Nora burst into the studio, face flushed. We have a problem. Nora, I blurted out, forgetting myself for a moment. I mean, can we help you? Oh, drop the act, Mila, she said, then turned to Bridget and Annalise. Ladies, could you give us a minute? They looked at me uncertainly. I nodded, and they retreated to the break room. Are you crazy? Nora hissed once we were alone. Avery's hired private investigators. She's obsessed with finding out who's behind Phoenix. Let her look, I said, though my hand shook as I put down the needle. Everything's legal. Legal isn't the point. She's coming unhinged. The board is threatening to remove her if she doesn't turn things around by Fashion Week. That stopped me cold. Remove her? Isn't that what you wanted? Your revenge? I trailed off, realizing I wasn't sure anymore. I wanted her to understand what she did wrong. Well, congratulations. She's understanding it all the way to unemployment. That what you had in mind, Mama Bear? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Bridget. Sorry to interrupt, but Justin from Hernandez Fashion is here. Says it's urgent. Send him in, I called out, ignoring Nora's warning look. Justin entered looking exhausted. He stopped short when he saw Nora. I should have known you were involved. Justin, I said, keeping my voice steady. What brings you to the competition? Cut the crap, Mila. We both know it's you. He ran a hand through his hair. The techniques, the industry connections, the strategic timing, it all screams Mila Hernandez. Prove it. I'm not here to expose you. I'm here to make a deal. That caught me off guard. What kind of deal? Avery's drowning. The holiday collection is tanking. Our best clients are jumping ship, and she's spending more time investigating Phoenix than running the company. He stepped closer. Help her. Help her? I laughed. Like she helped me on my birthday? She made a mistake. A huge, terrible mistake. But she's still your daughter. My daughter died the moment she chose corporate politics over family. Justin pulled out his phone and played a video. It was Avery in her office late at night crying over old photos of us together. This is from last week. She watches your old design tutorials every night trying to figure out where she went wrong. My chest tightened. Turn it off. The board meets next Friday, he continued. Without a miracle, they're voting her out. Is that really what you want? Nora touched my arm. Mila, I have to go, I said abruptly, grabbing my bag. Lock up when you leave. I hurried out, but not before hearing Bridget's voice from the break room. Was that really Mila Hernandez? The Mila Hernandez? Outside, the city was settling into evening. I walked aimlessly, remembering all the nights Avery and I had done the same, discussing designs, sharing dreams. Where had that mother-daughter team gone? My phone buzzed again. Another voicemail from Avery. Mom, I found your old sketches today. Remember when you taught me about balance and design? How everything needs its opposite to work. I think I forgot that somewhere along the way. Please call me back. I sat on a nearby bench, suddenly exhausted. A young mother passed by, holding her daughter's hand as the little girl skipped along. They were both laughing. Damn it, I whispered, pulling out my phone again. I dialed Bridget's number. Maria, is everything okay? I need to tell you something, I said, about who I really am. We know. Annalise's voice came through. I was on speaker. We've known for weeks. What? How? Nobody knows those old Vietnamese stitching techniques except the people who learned from your early collections, Bridget said. We studied you in design school, remember? And you're still working with me even knowing I lied? You gave us a chance when no one else